Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome again to my podcast, Snack Thoughts. Welcome to my podcast, Snack Thoughts. And here is my thought for tonight. I was watching another YouTube channel. I think it was Savvy Sabs, the young lady on there, and she had done an episode showing the employment statistics, and what it showed was I think something like 100,000 or 106,000 African American women losing their jobs, in at least 1 month. And she showed the unemployment rates, among the different groups of people. And what it showed was that African American women had the highest unemployment rate, and all the other races, they had a slight dip, including black men had a decrease in unemployment from something like 6.2 to 5 point something percent. You know what I'm saying? I think white women, it was maybe 3.3%, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but where I'm going with this is that there are different individuals. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Dr. Umar Johnson. Some of these guys are obviously foundational Black Americans, and when I say foundational Black American, I mean African Americans, not Africans. People that were African descendants of slaves that were born in this country, and so many of them, what I'm saying, I guess you could say they're pro-Black, or maybe conscious or whatever like that, and they have this idea of this so-called Black community, of what to do to build it up, and then they obviously hint on the overall wealth and economic situation of the African American community as a whole in comparison to other groups, and in particular, white Americans. And a lot of this is due to Americans' history, with white Americans and Black Americans due to like slavery, so that's where a lot of this stems from. And then the inequality that passed down, after the slaves were freed, and you had Jim Crow laws, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. But just the different inequality, redlining with the housing situation. Some of the Black GIs coming back from war, not being able to use their GI Bill as easy as say white soldiers. It's a whole gamut of stuff. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Civil Rights Acts, blah blah blah. Anyway, I hear different, I guess you could say maybe African Americans, and from different class levels, and so I hear them. They mention this this so-called Black community that exists, and I'm not saying that that they're wrong, in somewhat with the statistics, but statistics don't tell the whole story. And then this so-called African American community it's just basically a group of people. A lot of us, we don't even know each other. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're individuals going on about a business, not unless you live in certain areas in the same neighborhoods, and stuff like that. But what my point is, I hear some African Americans making criticisms on African Americans that have become successful. And that comes from whether they make it to the upper class where they're rich, or those that may make it to the professional upper middle class, and even those that make it to the middle class. And these particular groups of African Americans that are making their money, they got their wealth up. And so I often hear them make certain comments or statements about blacks that are really successful. They should reach back and open the door, for other African Americans. And for those, that are successful, they got businesses or they made it out. Why are you pulling the ladder up behind you? You know? And they use different examples of certain people, certain big time business owners. And sometimes they mention people like Jay-Z or who was it? That's Bob Johnson that used to own BET, and I think he owned was it Jet Magazine at one time? Saying that they mentioned these individuals, and it even goes down to the point to the lower levels to say black men that are even in the middle classes, right? Middle classes, upper middle classes that have become successful and they have jobs or they have small businesses, and they want them to reach back into the part of African American community that has these broken families and single mothers with with these kids by different fathers, and they want these men that have become successful and don't have kids or may have very few kids, but they've paid their child support, raised their kids, and they're moving on with their lives. But they want these men that have their lives together to reach back to, I guess, build families and to pour their resources and energy and time into this black community that they say is supposedly lagging, or to build it up, and so that we can have this so-called utopia. And what my point is that when I look at it on paper, the ideal sounds good, what I'm saying? But when you really look at it in reality, does the former owner of BET, Black Entertainment, or Ebony Magazine, does a billionaire like Bob Johnson really owe the black community anything? Does somebody like the rapper Jay-Z, okay, that's a billionaire, or Kanye West, do they actually owe the black community anything? And there's other, African Americans, men and women both, that are successful. And, whether they are in managerial positions, whether they run businesses, corporations, and they've climbed the ladder, or whether they've become independently wealthy. Do those African American individuals, men and women both, is it their responsibility to necessarily share some of their resources or open up a door to a mass of people that they don't even know? They're taking care of their families and those that are close to them, but think about it. If you have an African American, and I'm isolating, this would apply to any race, but I really only hear, black people, talk about this, but if I use myself an example, if I take all the risks as an entrepreneur to start a business and do certain ventures, right? I put up my capital, I take the risk, whatever, with loans or my own individual capital. I put the work into it, and let's say if I hire maybe certain people, right? And the business becomes, say, successful, and I'm making all this money. Is it really, do I really actually owe a group and a body of people that I don't even know, and they don't even know me? You know what I'm saying? Is it my responsibility to reach back, to them, and to make sure that either they get hired or they get certain economic opportunities? As long as I'm taking care of, say, my family and maybe my close friends, do I really actually owe anybody anything? And the second thing I want to get on is that these individuals, foundational black Americans that talk about successful black Americans, that they should, open up businesses and they should take their wealth and hire more blacks or create things, say, for African Americans. Well, to me, I don't exactly agree with that. You know what I'm saying? If I am a business owner or if I'm a manager of a corporation, I want to hire whoever is the best qualified. I don't believe in putting people on my team because of the color of their skin. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? If I want to be successful, I want the best people in the right fit. you know what I'm saying, on my team, so we can get the job done and be successful. And it doesn't matter whether they're Asian, white, you know what I'm saying, black, you know what I'm saying, if they're African, you know what I'm saying, if they're from Zimbabwe, if, you know what I'm saying, whatever, Vietnamese, if they have the talent, the know-how and the skills, or they have the ability, but they just need training, and they're teachable, and they can learn, and they can get the job done, and they got the work ethic, I want the best qualified. And if I rise, you know what I'm saying, like a phoenix out of the ashes, right? And that is my wealth, you know what I'm saying? How is it my responsibility to take my wealth and resources that I put in and to distribute it, you know what I'm saying, or to create opportunities for a group of people, which are millions that I don't even know, and many, they wouldn't even like me anyway, you know? So, and I'm not saying that there isn't some truth to it that, okay, those that are successful, that they should maybe lend somewhat of a helping hand. Maybe they could create certain opportunities, but I'm going to say this, and I have to be honest. And I know that as a group, African Americans may not own businesses, in particular, say maybe like as much as say maybe, white Americans and say maybe Asians or other groups, but there's different reasons for that. You know what I'm saying? Now, is some of it due to, inequalities and racism and, prejudices and stuff like that? Sure. Some of that, you know what I'm saying, has something to do with it. But then it is still also on the individual to make the effort and seek out, the best opportunities for themselves. So I do get what they're saying, but I hate to say it. A lot of what they're talking about is like a utopia, and it sounds good on paper, but you are never going to have this so-called black utopia. Number one, because with the civil rights movement, African Americans, whites, and whatever is in this country, our society is already integrated. So everybody's like, it's interconnected. And so you're not going to, it would not make sense to try to separate, you know what I'm saying, a separate black community and try to build it separate from the rest of American society. Now, I do understand that you had Black Wall Street back in the days, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that you can't have, black business owners and blacks that are doing, but they just gotta work within American society, which some are already doing that. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't I don't fully, understand or fully agree with the sentiment that those in the African American community that have made it, that in particular they owe something to their group, when in most cases the group didn't help them get to where they got. And that's the honest truth. They didn't. The group, didn't put in money for them to get their degrees. The group didn't put in money for their business and their entrepreneur. When they had to go take out those loans, and use their credit, the group didn't contribute and use their credit, or they didn't put in a GoFundMe to help them get their businesses started so that they didn't have to take out these loans. The group, known as Foundational Black Americans or the African American community, they didn't pool their money together, and set up a grant, for these black geniuses or these African Americans that started their business or whatever career path they took. The group, did not help them. The group in most cases, did not help them to become professional athletes. The group did not help them to become these successful actors, actresses, business moguls, whatever you want to call it. The group did not help them. So I don't think it's necessarily fair for those individuals of the black community that say these things to become a burden to those that have made their way off of their own blood, sweat, and tears. I think the only people that I think they owe God, for giving them the ability and allowing them to get that far. They owe it to the family members that supported them and to the friends and the people that stuck by them, to help them make it. They may owe them something to a certain extent. But I don't think it's right, And I'm not angry about it, but I think it's a fallacy in the way of thinking with some African Americans, that this so-called mythical group of people, which there's millions of us, you know what I'm saying? Probably like about what, 40 something point million African Americans in this country, you know, and it's like most of us, we don't know each other. And most of us are just regular hardworking individuals that, you know what I'm saying, are just trying to do the best that we can to make it and to leave something behind for our legacy and our family and trying to take care of our children and our grandchildren, you know? So it's like, how do those individuals owe you a piece of what they got? Or is it their responsibility to take a portion of their wealth to open up a door, you know what I'm saying, for this so-called African American community of people that they do not know, you know what I'm saying? And a certain percentage of which cannot act right, you know? And I'm not saying that for those of us that do make it, that we can't contribute or maybe try to help out in some way, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying at all, but to say that those of us that have made it, that we owe it, you know what I'm saying, I don't think that's right, you know what I'm saying? If for those African Americans that make these statements and are complaining about it, about the blacks that make it pulling the ladder up behind them, then why don't those blacks get together? Why don't they pool their money together? Why don't they create businesses? Why don't they create grants? Why don't they create scholarships? Why don't they go use their credit together collectively? And why don't they take out loans and build something and get the party started? Versus always waiting at the finish line when certain black Americans become successful and then they have their handouts and making a claim of ownership on those black individuals and saying that you owe us something based on the color of your skin and because you became successful. That to me, that just doesn't jive. But anyway, it's just something to chew on, you know what I'm saying? Do those individuals with the money and the resources and even not just at the upper class level, do people at the upper middle class level or even those that are successful and at the middle class level, do they owe, you know what I'm saying, the black community anything when they put their own hard work in? The answer is no. They don't owe the black community anything. Most of us, we're just people like anybody else, and we do not know each other. How is it that it's our responsibility to worry about people that we can't even see in our own social circle? It doesn't make sense. Now, I do agree, maybe to a certain extent, those that are successful, if they choose, you know what I'm saying, they can take a look at certain situations and they can reach back, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, I'm going to be honest, you know what I'm saying? It is my opinion. Successful black Americans, they do not owe the black community as a whole anything. That's just my opinion. And they don't owe anybody else anything. You know what I'm saying? Those that stuck by them and helped them make it, you know what I'm saying, to them, they might owe a little something, you know what I'm saying? But they did most of the work. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. And the name of my podcast is Snacks Thoughts. That's SNAKZTHOUGHTS. Snacks Thoughts. And you can find my podcast on Spotify, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Radio PM, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and a host of other social media outlets. Also, I have a YouTube channel, Eric Broadus YouTube, ERICBROADUS YouTube. And so please go over there, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Smash that bell to become a subscriber. Hit the like button to like the videos. Hit the unlike button if you don't like the videos. Either way, leave a comment. Love to dialogue with you. And also, I've recently put up a website that I have for some weight loss products. You know, so the link will be in the description. But go on my website. I think it may even be, the link may be in the podcast also. But click on the link, check it out, and see, you know, check out the products. They're inexpensive, you know what I'm saying? But check it out and see if you're interested in you know, losing some weight and, you know, cutting fat, shedding some pounds, and leaning out. You know what I'm saying? Check out the products. And lastly, I am on Rumble. Snacks123, guys. So go over there and join me on Rumble and hit the like button or the unlike button over there. Leave a comment as well. Love to dialogue with you over there. And subscribe to my Rumble channel. All right, guys? Push them out, guys. Push them out, guys. Snacks Thoughts, Eric Brothers YouTube, Snacks123, and my weight loss products. Push them out. Family, friends, enemies, frenemies, rats, dogs, bats, goats. All right, guys, push them out, share it. But one to grow on and something to think about. Do successful Black Americans owe the Black community anything? Peace out. Catch you on the next one later.